Lonzo, on a happier note, I did want to ask you about LiAngelo and him joining the Hornets again.
His journey's a little unique, definitely different than me, or Melo's, but this is his path. And, God put him in his place right here, right now. And I told him just to make the most of it, go out there and do what you know you can do and let the chips fall where they may.
This video might be a little bit of deja vu for some of you guys, mainly because, well, we pretty much made the exact same video last year, and I just want to say it for what it is. I don't want to overhype a situation and just give you guys a full analysis on this. Before we get to the content, I've been using my Twitter account to organize NBA 2K23 runs with my subscribers. If you happen not to have NBA 2K23, we're doing giveaways on my Twitter account. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? One of the most intriguing stories in all of basketball is the story of LiAngelo Ball. And it must be very difficult for Jello because after seeing his older brother Lonzo experience some success, although he is currently going through some adversity, we actually made a video on Lonzo Ball's adversity not too long ago, and then seeing his youngest brother LaMelo experience the most success in the sense that he is a bona fide superstar and a franchise cornerstone for the Charlotte Hornets, LiAngelo hasn't necessarily experienced that same level of success. So here's what's gone down ever since the last time we saw LiAngelo Ball under the spotlight, which was the 2021 NBA Summer League. I mean, in his Summer League debut, he absolutely carved up the paint, shooting 5 3-pointers in 16 minutes, which was a remarkable job flashing his potential. LiAngelo clearly understands that if he wants to have a role in the NBA, he needs to fully establish himself as a 3-and-D guard. He's 6'5". He currently weighs 215 pounds, and to his credit, he lost a significant amount of weight. Last year, you saw the Charlotte Hornets decide to sign LiAngelo Ball to a non-guaranteed contract. So what this means is LiAngelo Ball goes to training camp with the Charlotte Hornets, and he actually competes for a roster spot with the Charlotte Hornets. And for the most part, the Hornets seem to be fairly impressed with what they had in LiAngelo Ball. Problem was that the Hornets had way too much depth at the guard position. I mean, this was the offseason that they drafted James Bouknight. They already have Terry Rozier, who kind of plays the 2 guard in their lineup as well. They have Kelly Oubre Jr., which also slides over from the forward to the guard position depending on which team he's playing on. They have Cody Martin, Gordon Hayward. You guys get where I'm going with this. There's way too much depth at the guard position to have signed LiAngelo Ball. Regardless, I said that at the time it was a very good idea for the Hornets to do this because at the very minimum, you're pleasing your franchise cornerstone. Let's be honest here. At some point or another, and this is way down the line, I mean, we're talking possibly during the 2029 offseason, if I'm doing the math correctly in my head. At some point or another, LaMelo Ball is going to hit unrestricted free agency. Down the line, he still hasn't hit restricted free agency yet, to give you an idea. So doing this is a good way to just show LaMelo Ball that they're willing to go the extra mile for his family and to appease his family. Now, what ultimately did happen to LiAngelo Ball is afterwards he entered the G League draft during the 2020 season. He wasn't even selected, like during the 2020 offseason, excuse me. But now the Greensboro Swarm selected LiAngelo Ball during the 2021 season with the 14th overall pick. He scored 22 points in his G League debut, and he spent time with the Greensboro Swarm for the 2021 to 2022 season. Now, it seems like they're doing the same thing all over again. According to Shams Charania, LiAngelo Ball is signing a non-guaranteed deal with the Charlotte Hornets. Ball spent last season's training camp with the Hornets as well, joining brother LaMelo. So LaMelo Ball actually seems to be very excited about this because this was his reaction.
Oh yeah, that's a blessing for real. Hopefully he can make the whole thing, keep him on the team for real. That'd be a blessing. No, it's great to watch. I mean, just seeing a human, for something they really want, work for their whole life, just working so hard. It's honestly a blessing to watch for real. And it just could mean that much more when you really make it and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Definitely miss them, talking to them day and day, just seeing what it is. But other than that, I haven't really heard too much or anything. I'm hoping we get them. Not really trying to throw in the negative energy, just keep it positive.
Now look, man, I don't want to come off as a pessimistic individual. I don't want this to come off as me praying for someone's downfall or me wanting Jello to not succeed, because I want LiAngelo Ball to succeed. I have tremendous empathy for him because I do think that he has a struggle similar to a struggle that I went through. My personal theory is he feels tremendous pressure to become a basketball player, primarily because he sees how much his brothers are succeeding at the game of basketball, and his father's really pushing him to become a basketball player. And the reason I have empathy for that is in my culture, I was really pushed to become a doctor. Like, I was getting B's and C's in my exams, and it took me like 3 times the amount of time to study something that my friends would study, and it was not my path. It took me forever to figure out my path, and I'm very blessed to do what I do. This is just my own personal theory. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in his true heart of hearts, he truly wants to be a basketball player. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm a little pessimistic in regards to how seriously the Hornets are truly taking LiAngelo Ball. And my basis for this argument is if you look at the footage that the Charlotte Hornets put out to market their training camp and to excite fans about training camp, you're not seeing much of LiAngelo Ball. You're seeing the occasional clip of LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre. Hell, you're even seeing Cody Martin, but you're not seeing much of LiAngelo Ball, which is kind of interesting because you would think the primary reason that the Hornets would also bring in LiAngelo Ball is fan service. I mean, it's training camp, so you don't know what are the odds of you actually signing one of these players in training camp, unless if they absolutely play out of their minds in training camp. So why not give a spot to LaMelo Ball's brother and excite the fans once again? Look, I know this is very pessimistic, but I'm just trying to be realistic, and I really hope I'm wrong in this case. But I feel like if I was wrong in this case, you would see more footage of LiAngelo Ball in these promo clips. So what does this mean? I don't want to be a pessimist because I believe in trying your best to fulfill your dreams as much as possible. But at the same time, LiAngelo Ball was invited to training camp last offseason with the Charlotte Hornets, and ultimately he was cut right before the season began. So a part of me really wants to believe in LiAngelo Ball being able to succeed with the Charlotte Hornets, but at the same time, I feel like LiAngelo Ball is once again facing the same uphill battle. I mean, the Charlotte Hornets didn't only bring in LiAngelo Ball for the upcoming preseason. At the same time, they went ahead and signed another guard, although he's technically a point guard, in Dennis Smith Jr. to the same type of contract. They still have Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, James Bouknight, Cody Martin, Gordon Hayward. I mean, the same problems that existed for LiAngelo Ball last year once again exist this year. It's the same exact circumstances that occurred last year. Now, that's not to say that LiAngelo Ball has zero chance whatsoever at making an NBA team, because what could happen is he could have a remarkable training camp. Other teams could take notice maybe during the preseason, assuming he gets playing time in the preseason, and then as the season goes on, maybe a rebuilding team takes a flyer on him. But for the most part, it's really difficult to report on this because I want the man to succeed. I believe in his talent. I could tell he's been working his off to really carve out a role for himself and a niche for himself in the NBA. But at the same time, it seems like I've seen this story before. I mean, it's kind of like a different twist to the story. It's technically a different type of contract. And I'm not going to lie, this is definitely a nice upward trend as to what happened to him 2 years ago with the Detroit Pistons, who essentially signed him to training camp, then cut him without even having him play in a preseason game. Last year, you saw the Hornets actually give him a chance and were very impressed by him in training camp. Now, Now, whether they were actually impressed by him or they're saying it just because they want to hype him up a little bit so LaMelo Ball could be happy is a different conversation, but they claim that they are very impressed by him, so it seems like he's on an upward trend. Maybe this year he proves me wrong. Maybe something changes and he's able to make it, and I hope he makes it, but it seems like this is just the same story in the same circumstances that we've been covering so far. He's 23 years old. He still has a lot of time to make it to the NBA, and I really hope he makes it to the NBA. I'm just not so sure if this is the moment that I'm celebrating his success yet or saying he's finally made it, but of course, it's never a bad thing to get signed to a non-guaranteed contract to any team. So let me know in the comment section down below, do you think this is finally the year that LiAngelo Ball is able to make it to the NBA? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.